Ask anyone responsible for grid reliability and what keeps them up at night in 2026, and they will not describe a future hypothetical scenario. They will describe last Tuesday. In May 2026, NERC issued a Level 3 Essential Actions Alert. By its account, only the third in its 58-year history. The regulatory equivalent of an active fire alarm, and it's a pattern, not a fluke. 2 of those 3 alerts have landed in the last year. Inverter-based resources, then computational loads. Different culprits, one signature. Fast oscillations the grid can't damp. Operators now have a name for it: subcycle oscillations. They unfold in fractions of a second. Combinations of frequencies that form faster than instruments can read, let alone respond to. And here's the worst of it. Loads the size of cities suddenly drop, faster than any human or market software can respond, sometimes before anyone even knows it. At this unprecedented moment, the nation is being asked to win the defining economic and military contest of the era, powering AI, advanced manufacturing, and semiconductor reshoring on a grid already failing in the milliseconds, on faults it used to shrug off that now quietly undermine this movement. It seems like the answer is simply to build more, and the nation is building, with new projects announced weekly. Demand is forecast to triple the prior projections, with 224 gigawatts of new peak demand this decade alone. Generation takes years to bring online, transmission even longer, while the real problem is measured in milliseconds. And whatever infrastructure is built arrives onto a foundation that's already wobbling. More capacity and demand poured onto a grid that's oscillating now. The reason most of this stays invisible is measurement. Even the utilities don't really see it. The SCADA systems they run on measure in averages over minutes, while these events form in the blink of an eye. The facilities downstream, defense installations, fabs, data centers, industrial plants, often monitor their own power even less closely than the utilities do. Most run at a power quality rating or PQR of around 40%. This is a single measure of how efficiently current becomes useful work across power factor, harmonic distortion, phase balance, and impedance. And that low number isn't just waste, it's exposure. A facility at 40% has almost no margin to absorb a disturbance. It sits closer to the edge and trips sooner when the oscillations arrive. Poor power quality is what makes them many times more vulnerable. The traditional tools do help. Capacitor banks, filters, and dynamic VAR compensators clean up the slow, steady-state distortion. But they measure and respond on the timescale of averaging, seconds and minutes, and they're blind to the subcycle band where these oscillations live. The real fix has to be as fast as the problem. Measure and correct as the event unfolds before it spreads. NERC's own alerts talk about this gap. Its orders are about visibility. Install dynamic fault recorders, stream phaser data for oscillation analysis, test facilities for ride-through. All necessary. But monitoring doesn't fix anything. You can record 1,000 megawatts walking off in perfect detail and still lose it. Seeing the oscillation days later, from a post-event analysis, isn't stopping it. The good news is that stopping it is now possible. Correct the current as the event unfolds, right at the point of interconnection. That's what software-defined electricity was built to do. Not just an efficiency upgrade, but a matter of critical national interest. Built over 15 years by 3DFS in its domestically manufactured Vector Q controllers, SDE corrects current in parallel, measuring at sub-microsecond resolution across more than 24 parameters, reshaping and optimizing the power flow at the same time. Deployable at the speed of the crisis, not of construction. And the effect is not a marginal trim. SDE lifts power quality ratings from around 40% into the 80% plus range at 96% efficiency. A single 200-watt unit can optimize up to 60 kilowatts of load, up to a 300-to-1 leverage ratio at rated conditions, which makes fleet-scale deployment plausible. And it doesn't just ride through these oscillations. By correcting the current in real time, it stabilizes the power for both the load and the grid, recovering capacity that has already been paid for. The controllers are in deployment today, validated in third-party testing witnessed by Underwriters Laboratories, and already named in the UK National AI Strategy, presented to Parliament way back in September 2021. SDE replaces nothing. It's not a battery, not a UPS, not a generator. That's the job of grid-forming storage. It's the missing layer of optimization that deserves to be deployed where the distortion is born and at the loads that can't afford to fail. The role of SDE is best stated plainly. Optimize before you build. New generation answers the next decade. STE answers the millisecond the grid is failing in right now. The capacity this moment demands isn't years away. It's already in the wires, mistimed and distorted, waiting to be reclaimed. The only question left is how much of it we keep throwing away. That waste lands differently depending on where you sit. Over the next 4 videos, we follow this into the 4 places it matters most: the data centers that can't afford to drop, the military bases that must hold when the grid goes dark, the semiconductor fabs where a single sag scraps a run, and the grid that has to absorb it all. 4 fronts, each with even more on the line. Subscribe to follow the series, and visit 3DFS to find the capacity already paid for.